as the left likes to put it. Even though the House Speaker role isn't all that important, there's still responsibilities that Congress has, and it now can't because of the empty chair. Congress should and needs to nonetheless get it together and vote for what the American people need and what the American people deserve. The House Speaker's seat has been empty for 14 days and counting. Also in the news, Joe Biden joins Truth Social in an embarrassing moment for the campaign team, but this is exactly what they wanted to happen. Also in the news, Gaza hits a hospital with a missile and kills over 500 people, and then blames it on Israel. This is getting pretty bad already.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
There's been a fight happening in the House of Representatives. This fight is for the next House Speaker. But when will it end? When will Congress get it together and finally elect someone? When will the few members of Congress get their heads out of their rear and vote for a leader already? A leader that can quote-unquote get things done, and that's a leader. Most people might be thinking, quote-unquote, let's just get somebody in there already. Honestly, I was thinking the same way. As soon as the war happened between Israel and Gaza, but it's true that someone with deeply held conservative values should be at the forefront of this, not just some lib. Congress can't pass any bills without a House Speaker. That includes spending bills. Also, Congress can't start or stop a war without a speaker. But subcommittees can still do business. Our enemies know this. That's why they always attack somewhere when we look distracted. They never attack somewhere when we look our strongest. That's why there were 0 wars under Trump's administration. Other countries were not sure if Trump was going to push the button for a tweet or push the button for a nuke. The same can't be said about Joe Biden. They know that Joe Biden is asleep at the wheel and Joe Biden cannot get anything done. That's why they're attacking other countries and there's wars all over the place, like the Afghanistan withdrawal, Asia war lingering in the background, and the Middle East war as we're having right now. All of these countries think that they can just walk all over Joe Biden and Joe Biden won't notice. But you know, he's noticing at least a little bit, so I can give him credit for that. He's visiting Israel today, so we will be reporting on that tomorrow to see exactly what happens. And I think the major reason for him to actually just go to Israel right now is to just put a pause on Israel's mission to actually invade the country. But if I was going to be honest, Joe Biden should just stay out of it. He should stay out of it in the aspect of him going there. He can call Netanyahu all he wants, but for him to actually go there on the ground invasion day is completely beyond me, and I would not do the same thing. With that being said, let's dig into the headlines of the week. Okay, so starting off with a Daily Wire article, we actually have Hezbollah calls for a day of unprecedented anger at Israel. The United States issues Lebanon travel advisory. So, Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed terrorist group that is based in Lebanon, called for a day of unprecedented anger directed at Israel after there was an explosion at a hospital in Gaza that killed hundreds of people. Now, this missile is actually the cause of Hamas. So, they're blaming Israel, but Hamas is the person that shot the missile. We're going to show footage. Mainstream news organizations, left-wing politicians, and anti-Semites immediately launched into a parroted claims by Palestinian officials claiming that Israel bombed the hospital, which resulted in deaths of more than 500 people. However, Israel later confirmed that the explosion in the hospital was caused by a rocket that terrorists launched from inside Gaza that malfunctioned and hit the hospital. Hezbollah joined the rest of the Islamic world in instantly blaming Israel for the attacks. Quote, let tomorrow, Wednesday, be an unprecedented anger against the enemy and its crimes and against Biden's visit to the Zionist entity to cover and protect this criminal entity. The Islamic terrorist group said, and let this message be clear that this is a day that comes after it and a path of resistance, victory, and retaliation for the oppressed from the oppressor. That's not true. So Gaza was owned by the Gaza Strip. Hamas actually owns Gaza, the Gaza Strip, which is a whole entire other country, a part of land that is in Israel. They gave Israel gave this land to Hamas in 2008. This was after they were fighting for the land. They said, no, we don't want this land anymore. Hamas took the land in 2008. Since 2008, they have been given all this materials to build up their city, to actually making it a shining, I would say, a shining Japan or a shining China of the Middle East. But they didn't want to make it like that. What they wanted to do was take all the materials that they were given from all over the world, like, the United States will send Hamas stuff, and Israel would send Hamas stuff, so they can build up their cities, so they can have sewer systems, they can have clean water. But instead of using this material to actually build sewer systems and water wells and all that stuff for the public to use, what they did instead was use all this materials to craft missiles and then launch those missiles and attack Israel with their very materials. That's what Hamas was doing. And to even put a cherry on top of this situation, they would then take all of the available water and then make it illegal to actually dig a well to access that clean water. So let's just say that, like my house that I'm in now, we have a well system. So there's water underneath the house because of the fact that there's a river underneath the house because I'm next to water. So what it does is it takes all of that water that's in a well, brings it up to the house, instead of us doing it the old-fashioned way with a well, and then you have to twist the thing and a bucket of water comes up and then you can take a bath with that bucket of water. No, this is 2023. What we have now is a pump system that brings up the water from the well and it automatically puts it into a big reservoir inside of the house. Now, this is exactly what can be done in Hamas, or in Gaza, but Hamas does not allow this, and he made it illegal to actually access this clean drinking water. So of course, since it's illegal, nobody's doing it, and everybody's not having enough water in their daily life, not having enough sewer system coverage, because most houses are not connected to any sewer system. They don't have a septic tank like what we have in America. They probably have to go in public restrooms, and those are the only ways that they can actually go to the bathroom. But Hamas does not care about this. All they care about is making the missiles so they can actually cause terror. But not only this, but also the fact is that other regimes in Palestine and Iran, Iraq, these countries are not allowing Hamas in. They have access to planes. They can allow their people to escape the country and then go all the way over to Iran and Iraq if they so choose. But Iran and Iraq only want Hamas there so they can use them as little pawns to do what they want to do, but they don't want to risk their own life to do it. That's exactly why Hamas is there. That's the only reason why they want Gaza a very country. But the thing is that Israel does not want the Gaza Strip. That's why they gave the Gaza Strip over to Hamas. So what they want to do is they want to give the Gaza Strip over to Egypt, which is their neighbor. They offered it to Egypt a few years ago, and Egypt said no. Egypt actually said no so much and so loudly that they actually built a 40-foot wall above and below ground so Gaza citizens cannot get into Egypt. So not only does Egypt not want the country of the Gaza Strip, but also Israel doesn't want the country of the Gaza Strip. Other countries do not want the responsibility for the Gaza Strip because Hamas has just obliterated the land. There's no potential for the land anymore because it's just utterly destroyed. But not only that, but also because of the fact that the Israeli Defense Forces is now leveling the ground field, as they should, because it's in retaliation for the terrorist attacks that happened to their country last week. So yeah, this should not be a surprise to you guys that Egypt does not want them, and it should not be a surprise that other countries do not want the Gaza Strip because of the fact that it's just horrible. No country wants it. Continuing with the article, on Monday, the Israeli Defense Forces announced that residents of 28 towns along the Israeli-Lebanon border needed to evacuate the area, including the following communities. I can't pronounce any of these. The United States issued a level 4 do not travel advisory on Tuesday night for Lebanon because the increased Hezbollah terrorist and criminal activity. Israeli officials are concerned that Hezbollah, which is estimated to have approximately 20,000 soldiers, is preparing to launch a full-scale attack on Israel's northern border. The terrorist group has approximately 150,000 rockets in its arsenal that could easily dwarf the recent rocket attacks launched by Hamas. Hezbollah operates a global criminal financial network which reported hubs in Europe, Africa, and Latin America. A 2022 Europol report stated the network of collaborators brought by Hezbollah and the EU is suspected of managing the transportation and distribution of illegal drugs into the EU, dealing with firearms trafficking, and running professional money laundering operations. Other 2022 reports highlight Hezbollah's role in the trafficking of amphetamine-type stimulants marketed as Capagon along the Israeli-Lebanon border. Former President Barack Obama sabotaged a massive multinational investigation into Hezbollah when he was in office, allowing the terrorist group to grow rapidly and letting them smuggle multiple tons of quantities of drugs in the Americas, all because he wanted to oppress Iran in the hopes of getting a nuclear deal. Israel's Mossad gave information to British law enforcement officials in 2015 that helped them foil terrorist attacks after they caught Hezbollah's terrorists stockpiling thousands of pounds of nitrite from disposable ice packs in a secret British bomb factory. At a factory that was used during the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995 that killed 168 people and damaged nearly 300 buildings. Now, of course, I mean, this is not new information for me because of the fact that I already knew Obama was a lying dog-faced pony soldier, as Joe Biden would like to put it, and we already knew that Obama was only in it for himself and his self-interest, not America, simply because of the fact that he was not even born in America. So it's like, come on, people. It's very easy to see who's for America and who's not for America because of the fact that, number one, you would have to be born in America to be for America. And number two, if you're not born in America and you're not here for America, then who are you for? Who are you paid for? And what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? And if you're a politician that keeps changing your rhetoric every single time you talk to a different group of people, is this somebody that we can actually trust, or is this purely a politician? Just like how Hillary Clinton changes her way of speech every single time she talks to a different group of people. So let's just say that she talks to Southerners. She's like, hey, y'all, and then she gets this Southerner accent. And then she talks to people in New York, and she's like, hey, however New York people talk. It's like, hey, you want some water? Like, whatever, something like that. So it's like these politicians just know exactly what to do to actually scam the public into voting for them, but not only voting for them, but actually getting things done that they like getting done. Now, with that being said, we do have another Daily Wire article. We have Arab leaders cancel meeting with Biden after Palestinians hit their own hospital with rocket. Now, this is to plan. I mean, I don't think that it was actually an accident that Gaza and Hamas actually targeted their own hospital with a rocket. I think this was coordinated, so they can just cancel the meeting with Biden. They can just cancel their everything. Everything was put into place for this reason. If you think that this happened for no reason at all, I think that you're a little blind to what's actually going on in this world. Of course, Israel was trying to have a relationship with Saudi Arabia, just like how America was trying to have a relationship with Saudi Arabia, in which we did have a good relationship with Saudi Arabia. If you do remember in 2016, or during the Trump administration more broadly, I should say, Trump went to Saudi Arabia to meet with the prince, and they were dancing, they were celebrating Trump, and he was sitting there and he was dancing with them, they were having a good time. Joe Biden goes over to Saudi Arabia and the prince fist bumps him. So you can tell who Saudi Arabia actually likes, who Saudi Arabia prince does not like. You can tell that they just changed course and completely started teaming up with different people. They started teaming up with the enemy because this is the enemy. Okay, Hamas is the enemy. They're a terrorist regime. Iraq is the enemy. Iran is the enemy. These three countries are terrorist organizations that are centered on hatred for other countries. That's why. So, of course, Arab leaders will cancel the meeting with Biden because of the fact that they do not like what Biden's doing. They do not like the fact that Joe Biden is standing up for Israel, is giving them so much goods to help their country thrive. And that's what Joe Biden has to do, and that's what America has to do. If America wants to stay out of the war, like a lot of people want to, then we need to give Israel what they need to fight Hamas in their own, on their own side of the world over here in the Middle East. Fight the war. Okay, so this is exactly why Arab leaders actually canceled the meeting that they had scheduled with Joe Biden because of the fact that they had this out. If I look crazy, it's like I feel another sneeze coming in, so just ignore that. So this is exactly why they canceled the meeting with Joe Biden. They knew for a fact that Joe Biden was going to come by, so they wanted to actually create a massacre, kill 500 people. Gaza does not care how many people that they killed. They do not care if they kill innocent civilians. They kill innocent civilians every single day. It does not matter. If you try to leave the country, they kill you. So that's worse than a communist organization. So, of course, they wanted to do this. This was per design. They wanted to do this for a reason because of the fact that they knew that they could just cancel the meeting and just get away with it. So, of course, Joe Biden's going to be on Israel's side. They did not like what Joe Biden was doing for Israel. That's why. So, the meeting with the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, Jordan King. The meeting with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, Jordanian King Abdullah, and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi was canceled as disinformation ran rapid on social media and in newsrooms across the world after those on the political left immediately parroted claims from the Gaza Health Ministry that Israel bombed the hospital. So they should take whatever comes from the Gaza Health Ministry very, 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 like, with a lot of salt. Like, you should take it with a lot of salt because of the fact that you know for a fact that the Gaza Health Ministry is controlled by Gaza. You know that Gaza has all the incentive in the world to say that all these people died, and if the health ministry does not comply with the organization of Gaza and the Hamas, then, you know, they get beat up, okay? They get killed, they get beat up, and they have a gun to their head when they're writing this and reporting this. So I have no trust in the Gazan health ministry at all. I don't even have trust in the United States health ministry, so never mind their health ministry. Israel later said that Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorist group was responsible for the 500 plus alleged deaths at the hospital. Quote, following an analysis by the IDF's operational systems, a barrage of rockets was launched toward Israel, which passed in the vicinity of the hospital when it was hit. The IDF said in a statement, according to the intelligence information from a number of sources we have, Islamic Jihad terrorist organization is responsible for the failed rocket launch that hit the hospital. An Al Jazeera broadcast documented the moment that the Islamic Jihad launched a rocket which misfired and hit a hospital in Gaza, killing hundreds. So this is actually the footage here. You don't actually see the point at which people were killed, which is a good thing because I do not want to see any more people being killed because of the fact that I saw enough of that last week. So let's see here. Okay, so we see the rocket flying into space if you are watching the audio version of the podcast, and then you see it going in the middle of the space right now, and then all of a sudden it blows up in the middle of the sky, because this is pointed towards the sky right now, and then all of a sudden it goes towards the ground and blows up the hospital. So yeah, so this is the hospital at which most people are at, so there's hundreds of people at this hospital. The camera zooms into the building that it hit, and the reporters are just talking about that. I do not understand the language, but I can see with my own eyes that this is exactly what happened. So, let me see here. Former President Barack Obama sabotaged a massive multinational investigation into Hezbollah when he was in office, allowing the terrorist group to grow rapidly and letting them smuggle multiple quantities of drugs into Americas, all because he wanted to appease Iran in the hopes of getting a nuclear deal. The announcement that the meeting had been canceled came right as Biden was leaving in Air Force One for his trip to Israel. Biden later released a statement about the explosion, saying that he was outraged and deeply saddened by the explosion at the Al Hala Arab Hospital in Gaza and the terrible loss of life that resulted. Immediately upon hearing the news, I spoke with King Abdullah II of Jordan and Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, and have directed my national security team to continue gathering information about what exactly happened, he said. The United States stands unequivocally for the protection of civilian life during conflict and mourn the patients of medical staff and others killed or wounded in this tragedy. And I completely agree. I mean, this is a centered view on this, because of the fact that he knows that one side might not be 100% right or one side might not be 100% wrong at that very moment. But now we know that Gaza is the one that actually put up the missile and actually struck the hospital that killed hundreds of people. So this is not unlike Gaza to do something like this. They don't care. As long as it gets the West's plans ruined and it gets Israel's plans ruined, that's all they care about. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the speakers, not the speakers, that's the next article. We're going to be moving into the media's takes.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Okay, Jordan's speaker bid on the brink amid steep GOP opposition. So, Jim Jordan's speaker bid is in peril as the Ohio Republican confronts steep opposition from members of his own party, raising serious questions over whether he can flip enough holdouts to win the gavel. Jordan failed to win the speakership in an initial round of voting on Thursday after 20 Republicans voted against his candidacy, a high number and far more than the handful he could afford to lose, given the GOP's narrow majority. The House is slated to hold a second vote at 11 a.m. on Wednesday in what could be a pivotal moment for Jordan's candidacy that will show whether he is losing or gaining support. It took former Speaker Kevin McCarthy 15 rounds in voting January to secure the gavel, but it's not clear if Jordan has a viable path forward in the race amid the deep divisions within the House GOP conference and resistance he faces. Now, I completely see what's going on here. This is my take on this. I don't think that Kevin McCarthy is going to stay out of this race for long. I think that Jim Jordan's candidacy right here, it's not going to happen. I mean, even though I would love to see Jim Jordan in the speaker gavel, even though I would love to see that, I know for a fact that I'm not going to see that. I know for a fact that there's too much division within the Republican field. I know that for a fact that there is too much counter elections going on. It's just that they cannot stand behind one person. They like to stand behind whoever can give them the most amount of stuff, and since Jim Jordan's not giving them any concessions, why would they vote for somebody else that's giving them less of a power than the former House Speaker? So what they're probably going to do is they're going to say, no, we're not going to vote for you, Jim Jordan. They're just going to keep saying that, nope, we're not going to vote for you, we're not going to vote for you. And unless he has 217 votes from the Republicans, or 217 votes in general, then he cannot go into the candidacy of the House Speaker. So he needs those voters to actually vote for him, and as the same exact thing is he needs them the same amount as Kevin McCarthy needed them. So unless he makes the concessions or unless he changes the way that they're going to vote, I mean, we're going to see by tomorrow, because 11 a.m. this is already going to be posted, we can see that if it's not going to take him 15 rounds of voting, then it might take him a little bit longer. It might take him only 10 or so. But I think that Kevin McCarthy is going to come back because of the fact that Kevin McCarthy won the first time, so he can win again. But he needs to remove the ability for anybody to remove him from the House Speakership. Because after 15 rounds of voting, we don't have time to be wasting like this. Kevin McCarthy was the most conservative speaker that we've ever had, which was a good thing. And he was forced to be the most conservative speaker that we've ever had, or else he was going to get his butt out of there, and he did get his butt out of there. But it's like, you have to make deals with Democrats to get the things done. That's what I'm not understanding, what the House is not understanding. You need to get things done, and that you need to conspire with the Democrats, not behind people's back, but just say, listen, I'm gonna go to the Democrats and see if I can get this done. If you can't get it done, then you can't get it done, but at least you tried. Uncertainty over Jordan's candidacy threatens to prolong the state of paralysis the House is currently stuck in. Without a speaker, the chamber is officially frozen as precarious position that comes amid conflict abroad and potential government shutdown next month. The chaos has prompted some Republicans to call for expanding the powers of interim Speaker. Republican Rep. Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, though such a move would put the chamber into uncharted territory, which, yeah, of course, because of the fact that if you just elect somebody and say, oh yeah, that's going to be the House Speaker for now until we vote for somebody, what makes you think that Democrats can't do the same thing? What if they vote for AOC to be House Speaker as a temporary position, quote unquote, because then they didn't even hold the vote. And then AOC can just get a bunch of things done that they wanted to, and then within like the 6 months or so, she just gets out of there. So I wouldn't want this done the opposite way, so I'm not going to say that I want the Republicans to do it, but I'm not going to say here and say that the Democrats won't do it now that they see the opportunity. So it's like multiple things happening at the same time here. With that being said, we do have another article. It's actually a Daily Wire article. We have how the culture of online dating encourages hookups, not marriage. So, in theory, online dating should be good. There's a wide range of dating apps and sites with differing personalities. Singles have so much more options and can scroll through carefully polished profiles as they wait for their post-brunch Ubers. The reality, however, is less romantic. What appears to be the perfect modern solution for the age-old challenge of finding a life partner may actually be making your goal more difficult. Yes, certain sites like Christian Mingle or eHarmony cater to those looking for serious relationships or marriage, and many are. Yet, more mainstream applications and sites seem to have alternative end goals. As John Bringer, journalist and author of Make Your Move, The New Science of Dating and Why Women Are in Charge, has pointed out in 2019 annual report of Match Group, the parent company of Match, Tinder, Hinge, OkCupid, and Plenty of Fish, the words marriage, wedding, couple, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, husband, and wife do not appear. Such dating apps make a profit not by cheating permanent couples, but by attracting new customers and by retaining old ones. Berger notes a lot of apps like Tinder make money off advertising too, so every time a Match or a Tinder member gets married or stops using the apps, that's one fewer paying customer. Further, he adds, Tinder, Match, and OkCupid do not want you to get off the market. They want to transform you into lifelong shoppers. Match Group admits as much in its annual report, boasting that successful experiences drive repeat usage. Translation, start dating someone terrific on Tinder, and you'll keep returning to the app to find someone even more terrific. For many, the combination of this perverse insensitive structure and the addictive nature of the apps leads to a critical, lackluster experience that goes on for years. Of course, dating applications like job placement services must be mindful of maintaining a positive reputation to attract people in the first place, and marriage not appearing in the annual report of Match Group is also a reflection of shifting views on relationship. Yet, it is also the case that the dating apps develop and promote a virtual dating culture of their own, sometimes mimicking how women and men normally tend to interact with each other, and other times exacerbating and elevating the most negative of human impulses. The user-suggested filters, such as height preferences on the site and apps, vary. Some are more robust and substantive, others sparser and shallower. All have benefits and downsides. They necessarily narrow a daunting pool of people, but many apps impose additional algorithmic filters of their own that give top priority to looks, and users are sometimes filtering out people virtually they might very well consider in person. Physical attraction is certainly important, but dating profiles are most solely comprised of photos, like those on Tinder, operate as hookup advertisements. There is a delightful mystery to attraction and capability that defines algorithmic precision. Personal filters are only useful if others know what they're looking for in a partner, which is not always the case. Those in their 20s seldom have a clear and immutable vision of their futures, and indicated by the fact that the average college student changes his or her major at least 3 times. Further, in the expected legacy of divorce report, a 25-year study. And this is exactly what it boils down to. Most people are just saying, oh, how can I have sex with the next person? And they just go and scroll and scroll and scroll. And they're like, this person's not good. Oh, this person's not good. And they never end up actually talking to the person in person. They never actually make a connection with the person other than just having sex with them. And that's not a good thing to have. Moving on, we actually have another Daily Wire article. We have Biden campaign joins Trump's Truth Social. Wow. President Joe Biden is wading into unfriendly territory by starting a re-election campaign account on former President Donald Trump's Truth Social platform. The new account, called Biden Harris HQ, appeared on social media site on Monday, opening a new front in the 2024 contest. Like Biden, Trump is running for a second term in the White House. Biden's running mate is Vice President Kamala Harris. Well, let's see how this goes. Converts welcome. The now verified account said in its first post, which quickly garnered hundreds of comments mocking Biden and voicing support for Trump. The Biden campaign's foray into Truth Social comes as the incompetent dominates the 2024 Democratic Party primary polls. But general election polls show matches against the GOP frontrunner. Trump and others have been much closer. Stephen Turing, a spokesperson for Trump campaign, responded to a Truth Social debut with a statement to Fox News, which broke the story about the new Biden campaign account. Crooked Joe Biden and his team are finally acknowledging that Truth Social is hot as pistol and the only place where you can get real news, Turing said. Unfortunately for Biden, his continuation for spreading misinformation to gaslight the American people in order to distract from his dangerous record won't work, and they'll be ratioed to oblivion. Biden's campaign officials told Fox News they seek to inject our message into GOP primary coverage, combat mis and disinformation, and Biden hold MAGA accountable on their own platform. Truth Social launched in early 2022, about a year after other social media platforms banned Trump following the United States Capitol breach on January 6, 2021. Its CEO was Rep. Devin Nunes, a Republican from California, who emerged as a key Trump ally in tackling the Russiagate controversy. Twitter is now known as X, and Meta have since allowed Trump back onto their platform. Trump's verified Facebook and Instagram accounts have been relatively active, though. They are not used as often as Trump's Truth Social account. The former president has largely refrained from posting to X, where he once was an avid tweeter. The one expectation came on August 24th, when Trump posted his mugshot on the Georgia 2020 election criminal case while sharing a link to his landing page for donations. By comparison, accounts for Biden and his campaign often post to X. We just joined Truth Social mostly because we thought it would be very funny, the X version of Biden-Harris HQ tweet said. So yeah, I mean, it is kind of funny. It would be funny, but it would also be even more funnier if everyone just bands together and just not follow them and just not like them. So then they're just posting there, and then nobody's even commenting, nobody's even liking, nobody's even seeing the post. The post is getting like 5 views, and then it's getting 0 likes, and then no comments at all. Like, nobody even cares. Like, yeah, you can post there. Everybody should just go and block the account. That would be hilarious. I think I should go. Somebody just commented that. That would be funny. Oh my god. Moving on to the next article, we actually have the Federalist article. We actually have leftists can't acknowledge the real terrorists without exposing terrorist smears of Republicans as ridiculous. It looks pretty silly to call conservative Americans terrorists when there's so much real terrorism going on in the world. After Hamas's violent attacks on Israel last week, Rep. Ilhan Omar finally found someone she can condemn as a terrorist, Ohio Republican Jim Jordan. Omar chose this moment in the world's events to post a quote from former House Speaker John Boehner describing Jordan as a legislative terrorist, a description Boehner apparently used to complain about Jordan's ability to make Boehner's life miserable. Thankfully, others have stepped up to this vow in the horrendous behavior of Hamas. A San Francisco Board of Supervisors declaration condemned the domestic terrorist organization and blamed its sponsor states for putting weapons in the hands of those who would harm and terrorize us. Rep. Jamal Bowman called for focusing energy on fighting the Nazis before anything else. The National School Boards Association wrote to the Attorney General about the immediate threat posed by actions of malice and violence, urging a response to terrorism and hate crimes. Whoopi Goldberg of The View bravely denounced them as terrorists. Former Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage condemned the terrorists at the top. Omar, to her credit, decried the ethnic cleansing and war crimes. Just kidding, none of these principled condemnations were directed at terrorist attacks of Hamas against Israel civilians last week. Issued over the past several years, they respectively referred to the National Rifle Association Republicans in Congress concerned parents at school board meetings, congressional Republicans again, and Donald Trump. Omar's ethnic cleansing comment was actually about Israel urging residents and others in Gaza to evacuate before incoming airstrikes against Hamas targets, while her war crimes remark slammed Israel for turning off electricity in Hamas-controlled territory. Now, so we can start from the beginning here. So the reason why Israel was actually asking Hamas and Gaza to actually evacuate is because of the fact that airstrikes were coming in. So they didn't kill them. Yeah. And while the war crimes, so the war crime is shutting off the electricity. Israel shut off the free, F-R-E-E, electricity in Gaza because of the fact that they wanted them to M-O-V-E out of the country. Do you understand this? So I'm not getting mad at the article. Okay, this is a misdirection, okay? So I'm getting mad at Talid, whatever the hell her name is, Alad Omar, and all of these anti-Semitic people. I'm getting mad at those people. They shut off the electricity because of the fact that they wanted them to move out of the country. They wanted them to relocate out of their country because of the fact that there was bombs, C-O-M-M-I-N-G, coming into the country from Israel. So they wanted them to move out of the country so they were not K-I-L-L-E-D, killed. Okay, they did not want them to be killed. They did not want them to die. They did not want innocent civilians to be at the forefront of this attack because of the fact that this attack was not on the people, just like we listened to on Friday. Okay, this attack was not on the people. This attack was more on the government of Hamas. This is just crazy already. Meanwhile, left-wing college students, their professors, and other congressional Democrats have found themselves unable to condemn the actual terrorists who raped, and kidnapped unsuspecting Israelis and their families. Student groups in Marxist outfits like Black Lives Matter have aligned themselves with terrorists, while others have reserved harsher words for defending Israeli forces than their attackers. Why is it so hard to call a terrorist, a real one, who murders families in their homes and, yes, besides beheads babies, a terrorist? For a known anti-Semite like Omar, the answer is easy enough to discern. For Marxists like BLM, their drones in college classrooms it's only slightly more complicated, having been taught to see everything through the lens of oppressors and oppressed. They buy into big lies about Israeli colonizers and must therefore stand with the terrorists, freedom fighters, Hamas, after all, is only doing the Israeli citizens what true Marxists think should be done to call settlers. But there's another hurdle to leftists admitting the terrorist acts committed by Hamas are, in fact, terrorism. To do so would invite comparison between those terrorists of raping, killed, and beheading variety, and the Republican terrorists that Democrats have assured us pose the greatest threat to the Republic. It looks pretty silly to call a potential Speaker of the House of Representatives a terrorist when there's so much more real terrorism going on in the world. It looks equally silly to call Republicans Nazis while your own side cheers the deaths of hundreds of Jewish victims. No serious person could take a person like that seriously. Hamas attacks in Israel are inconvenient for the narrative that paints Republican congressmen, pro-life demonstrators, and concerned public school parents as terrorists who pray to Donald Trump at night, hide out in booby-trapped compounds in the Texas desert, and work to rain violent jihad on the sexually frustrated elementary school teachers exposed by libs of TikTok. If these terrorists actually dragging women's battered bodies through the streets and taking toddlers hostage, America might realize that terrorism is a touch hysterical to describe voting for Trump or questioning the effectiveness of COVID lockdowns online. And then, where would Democrats' efforts to defend democracy be? Anyone who honestly opposes terrorism should have no problem blasting Hamas crimes in the strongest possible terms. But, to be honest about the term, would also require not applying it to stubborn soccer moms, Jim Jordan, and Trump-supporting grandmothers. To be fair, some leftists do condemn Hamas terrorism as such. Draw your own conclusions, I guess. What about that? I guess. about what that means they think of you when they call you the same word. If I were given the choice between being stuck in a room with Hamas Jamaad or one of the Trump voters, parents, protesters, or congressmen who have been described as terrorists, I'd take my chances with any of the latter three. Or heck, all of them combined. I bet most of the people who casually slander American conservatives as terrorists would too. Then again, when people tell you whose side they're on, you should probably believe them. And yeah, I do believe them. Because of the fact that these people are coming out with the terrorists, they probably are the terrorists. And not probably, they probably allegedly are. So with that being said, we're going to do it for today's episode. If you did like this episode, please like and subscribe down below because I do post new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and sometimes on Sunday. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.